Hey everyone, it's Justine. Welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be checking out 3 different card types that you can make that are a little different than your standard A2 size rectangle card. So today we're going to be focusing on clear cards, Dutch doors, and gatefold cards, as well as a little bit of a bonus with creating belly bands for your cards. And I can't wait to show you how to do all 3 of these techniques. Let's dive straight in. So basically what I'm looking at is creating 3 different types of A2 size cards, but that they're a little bit different in either their fold or how they're constructed. So it gets you a little out of your comfort zone. So I'm going to be using the Heffy Doodle Pasta La Vista stamp set, and just to make things super easy, I'm stamping on some yellow cardstock rather than choosing to color these. I'm going to be stamping all the different pasta noodles in the stamp set. I'm going to go ahead and add the coordinating dies. So if you're doing this card, of course you don't need to buy the stamp and die set unless you really love it. You could use any stamp set where you have medium-sized images, I would say, and you have the coordinating dies for them, or of course you can go ahead and fussy cut if you don't have any stamps with coordinating dies. I've attached them all with some purple tape and I'm going to run them through my die cutting machine. Now, I don't know about you, I like my craft room to be both fun, beautiful, and practical. And so I love my magnet here for keeping track of my dies while I'm using them, so I don't use them. I love the fact that it's a magnet and I can just throw them on here and they don't get lost. So I grabbed myself a top folding card that measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches. And I'm grabbing my paper trimmer and I'm cutting about 1.5 inches or so from the bottom, and I'm cutting myself out about a 1.5 inch piece, if that makes sense. You can get rid of that middle piece and throw it in your stash of paper, but keep the bottom piece. So what I like to do here is I like to grab myself a full card base, so one that's already made, like the one I just cut, and I grab myself a piece of packaging or a piece of acetate or whatever you have. This could be the plastic that's on the back of a stamp. Doesn't really matter. So I'm laying the piece I just cut on top so I have an idea of how big my card should be. Using my tape runner, I am going and I'm adding the bottom piece as well as the acetate to the center. So I've added my tape runner on the top and bottom of my card panel pieces, and then I'm laying my acetate directly on top. Now I've created this super fun window. So regardless of the stamp set you're using, it doesn't matter. You can go ahead and add the pieces to cover parts of the window. So when you close it afterwards, it almost looks like it's clear. It looks really cool when it's standing up and on display. So you can have them like this noodle where you have them, overlapping the white cardstock on the top and the bottom, or you can have them coming up from the bottom or down from the top. It's completely up to you. This is just such a fun way to really spice up your cards and add an unexpected surprise. So I'm going in now with my sentiment. This is from the same stamp set. I love pun cards. I think they're just so funny. And I haven't created one in a really long time. So I'm going to create this one, the Holy Macaroni, How Old Are You Now? And I think this is super cute. A very clean and simple card too when it's all finished. A lot of white space. So as you can see, when it's standing up, it's a lot of fun because it takes on the background of whatever the surface is that it's sitting on. All right, let's move into technique number 2. So I'm going to be creating a gatefold card here. Now you're going to start off with a piece of cardstock that measures 8.5 by 5.5 inches, and you're going to use a piece of vellum. I actually switched out this piece of vellum. My vellum that I used is about 1 1/4 inches by 11. And you're going to start off by grabbing this piece of cardstock and scoring both sides at 2 1/8 of an inch. So just flip your cardstock around and make the score line on both sides. I'm actually going to use footage from a previous video because the way I showed how to use the belly band in this portion of the video was just ridiculous. So I explained it way better in this other video. So once again, I have my piece of vellum. I'm going to grab my card. This is the same size as the card that I just showed you, just in a different color. I'm going to grab a pencil and do a pencil mark on either side of the cardstock. And then I'm going to take my paper scoring device, so whether that's attached to your paper trimmer or you have a score pal or whatever, I'm going to very lightly score these lines. When you're scoring vellum, it's really important not to go too hard because it will crack. Go ahead and erase the pencil lines, and then you're just going to simply fold in both of these sides and glue them at the end so that they create a band or a loop. So you can go ahead and just add a piece of a glue dot or some tape runner to the back here. If that overlap is bothering you, you can make it a bit shorter as well and cut it down. You can then go ahead when it's all glued and you can slip it over top of your card. It shouldn't be too snug that it's hard to take off, but it shouldn't be too loose either that it falls off your card. So my band here, as I said, is about 1 1/4 inch thick. It's a little bit thinner than the one that I used previously. So to decorate my band here, I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm using the Peony Dream 3D die set from Altenew. I noticed this is sold out everywhere, so they also have several other types of flowers in this type of die. So I've listed those in the video description in case you're interested in picking up one of these die sets that creates a flower. If you want to cut them exactly like me, pause the screen right now. I'm using some silver, dark blue, and white cardstock in order to cut these dies out with my die cutting machine. So in order to line these up properly, I find these dies are a lot more forgiving than trying to line up stamps. And what I like to do is I like to place them exactly as it's shown on the layering guide. Each one of these dies and layering stamps from Altenew comes with a guide on how to line them up. So I put them in the exact direction that they are on my guide, and I just layer them one on top of the other. I didn't find it extremely difficult at all, and I kind of was questioning my color choices for this. I thought it looked a bit weird, but in the end, I think they turned out really elegant and pretty when they were all said and done. So I created 2 of these flowers here and 2 of the leaves. In the end, I ended up only putting 1 of these flowers on here anyway, but now I have a leftover flower in case I want to use it next time. I did use both of the leaves though, and I placed them underneath the flower. Just make sure that when you're gluing these, it is only the glue is on the belly band and nothing on your actual card. Now I got a little bit of glue on my cardstock, so I wanted to kind of cover up my mistake in a way, so I went ahead and stamped the Simon Says Stamp Deco Diamonds stamp. I used the same color ink as my cardstock, the In the Navy, so that it was a nice monotone or monochrome look was what the word I was looking for, not monotone. When my glue is dry though, it will dry matte, so it's not really the end of the world anyway, and that belly band is going to cover that mistake too. So I'm adding a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 inch white cardstock to the center so that I can add a sentiment to the center as well as write my personalized note. I decided to stamp this with the I'm Thinking of You and Wondering How You Are from the Kind Words by Altenew stamp set. And then you can slip on your belly band when it's all finished and the card is all done. I think this card looks super elegant, it's really beautiful, it's really different than your standard card, and I'm sure anyone that gets it will be super happy. So here are just a couple final looks at these cards in particular, what they look like when they're taken apart and such. So my question of the day for you today is, if you're enjoying this video and the 3 alternative ways, I guess you could say, to make cards, I am super happy to continue on making some follow-up videos for this. So is there a certain type of card fold that you want to see, certain type of card type that you might not be sure about how to make? I would love to show it off on my channel. So let me know in the comments below, either some that you've made yourself or some that you would love to see on this channel. So for my last idea today, it's a Dutch door card. Now this is also something a little bit different. I'm going to grab a regular folded rectangle cardstock that I usually use, 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4 inches. And what I'm going to do is on one side of this, I'm going to cut out a piece of this. So you can cut it straight down the middle if you want. You can leave the top part bigger, the bottom part bigger. What I like particularly about this card is you're super flexible. It doesn't have to be exact measurements at all. So you're going to cut once along and then once along the fold line to take out that piece. Now I'm going to be attaching some patterned paper to each of the areas here. I'm using this gorgeous 6x6 paper from Alexandra Renke, and it has this just beautiful sort of watercolor look, florals on it, and I'm going to add this panel to the inside of the card. That panel measured 4 1/4 by 5.5, and then I cut a rectangle that was about 3/4 of an inch smaller on each side, also in the same cardstock as my card base, and added that over top. So this is where my sentiment's going to go and all of my text. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this just a note stamp from the Stamp Market, and I'm going to be using soft stone ink from Gina K Designs to stamp this. So once I finished stamping my sentiment and the small sentiment to go underneath, I noticed that when I closed my Dutch door card, it covered that just a note. So you want to kind of make it so that the sentiment is able to be read on the front of your card. I ended up cutting mine a little bit too far underneath, but you get what I mean. Just try and make it so that your stamp or your main sentiment there is able to be seen. When it's all finished, just add a little bit of pattern paper to the front of your card and you are all good to go. It's just like a fun little fold here that just makes it a little bit different. You could also add a panel like this to the front to cover it up and add another sentiment on it. It's completely up to you. As I said, I probably would have cut that Dutch door there to be a little bit higher, but overall I'm really happy with this elegant, beautiful card, and the sentiment's so funny. I wanted to say thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited that you were able to check out the 3 ways to creating something a little different than your standard A2 size card. I'm hoping to follow this video up in the future with some more folds and excitement because now and again, I don't know, I just get bored of those A2 size cards that are just your standard rectangle folded in half. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in a few days for another video. Take care and bye for now.